Something happening in Cincinnati, and if you've been paying attention, you can feel it. The air around the Bengals' locker room doesn't feel like frustration anymore. It feels like panic. Joe Burrow, the franchise, the face, the hope, is down again. Another injury, another question about how much more his body can take. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not after the massive contract, not after years of building around him. But as the season slips away, one name has suddenly crashed into the Bengals' world, and it's a name nobody expected to hear. Shedeur Sanders. Yes, that's Shedeur. The rookie phenom from Cleveland, the one who has barely taken a pro snap, yet somehow has the entire league buzzing. The one whose every move carries the shadow and the swagger of his father, Shedeur Sanders. And according to whispers coming out of both locker rooms, Shedeur may not be happy in Cleveland. And Cincinnati, they might just be desperate enough to pick up the phone. Now, this isn't your typical backup for starter rumor. This isn't about numbers or contracts. This is about power, ego, and control, the kind of quiet politics that shape the NFL when the cameras aren't rolling. Because the moment the words, "trade for Shedeur," hit social media, something weird happened. Reporters went silent, analysts dodged the question. And fans started asking the real one, why is everyone pretending this is possible? The Bengals need a quarterback. The Browns have a rookie who wants to play. The math adds up, but maybe the NFL doesn't want it to. Maybe this isn't about ability. Maybe this is about who's allowed to lead. Because if Shedeur Sanders, the son of Dan, the confident kid who built his own brand before he even took an NFL snap, gets his shot and wins, it changes everything. It challenges the power structure. It challenges the way this league operates. So what happens when desperation meets defiance? When one city's broken dream meets another's buried ambition? We might be about to find out. Because right now, the Bengals are staring at the edge of collapse. And Shedeur Sanders might just be the spark, or the scandal, that blows the entire AFC North wide open. Cincinnati wasn't supposed to look like this. Coming into the season, the Bengals were one of the most dangerous teams in football, a roster built to win now, with Joe Burrow leading what many believed could be a dynasty in the making. But all it took was one awkward hit, one grimace on the sideline, and everything changed. The city that had fallen in love with Burrow's icy calm suddenly found itself holding its breath. Another injury, another delay, another stretch of weeks where the franchise player was watching instead of leading. And as the offense stumbled, you could feel it, the confidence fading, the frustration building, the locker room quietly fracturing. Burrow's not just the Bengals' quarterback, he is the Bengals. When he's not on the field, the entire identity of this team disappears. The timing is off. The playbook shrinks. Even the defense starts pressing, trying to compensate for the offense that can't move the ball. Inside the organization, the pressure has become suffocating. Coaches whisper about finding short-term fixes. Executives worry about ticket sales and public patience. And fans, once loyal to the point of delusion, are now asking a question nobody thought they'd ever say out loud. Is Joe Burrow still the future? It's not that anyone doubts his talent. It's the durability, the endless cycle of hope and heartbreak. And with every loss, with every underthrown pass from a backup quarterback, the urgency grows. Because deep down, the Bengals know what's coming, a crossroads. If this season collapses completely, they'll be forced to make decisions that could reshape everything. Contracts, coaching, even leadership. And that's where things start getting interesting. Because while the Bengals are scrambling to keep their season alive, word has started leaking from Cleveland about a young quarterback who wants a shot and might just have the confidence to take one. A quarterback whose name alone brings headlines, ratings, and controversy. A quarterback who could change the entire balance of power in the AFC North. But before Cincinnati can even consider that move, they'll have to face one brutal truth. Their golden era might be slipping away faster than anyone wants to admit. On the surface, The NFL loves stories like Shedeur Sanders, the confident rookie with superstar potential, carrying his father's legacy and carving his own path. It's the kind of storyline that sells jerseys, boosts ratings, and fills highlight reels. But behind closed doors, that same story makes a lot of people nervous. Because Shedeur isn't built like the typical rookie. He's already a brand, a movement, and a media force before he's even cemented his spot as a starter. He speaks with conviction, carries himself like a veteran, and doesn't seem intimidated by the politics that come with the shield. And that's exactly what unsettles the league's old guard. The NFL has always thrived on control, controlling narratives, contracts, and even personalities. But Shedeur, he doesn't play by those rules. From his social media presence to his public statements, everything about him screams independence. He's not waiting for approval. He's shaping his own story, and that's dangerous to the people who prefer their players quiet, compliant, and predictable. The fear isn't just about performance. It's about what happens if Shedeur succeeds his way. If a young, outspoken, business-minded quarterback takes over the league without bending to tradition, it sets a new standard, one the NFL might not be ready for. Executives whisper about keeping things balanced. Commentators dance around questions about his confidence, calling it cockiness or immaturity. But behind the polished headlines and sanitized interviews, there's real anxiety, the kind that can shift entire front offices into defensive mode. Because the league knows one thing for sure: once a player like Shedeur starts winning, you can't control him anymore. You can't silence the interviews, the endorsements, the influence. He becomes bigger than the playbook, and for a league built on hierarchy, that's terrifying. So as Cincinnati quietly explores its options, and as the Browns try to contain the noise, one question is spreading through NFL circles. Is the league ready for Shedeur Sanders, or are they already trying to stop him before he even starts? At first glance, the idea of Shedeur Sanders in a Bengals uniform sounds wild, a storyline too explosive to ever actually happen. But when you start peeling back the layers, it makes almost too much sense. Because what Cincinnati is missing right now isn't just a healthy quarterback, it's an identity. The Bengals were once the NFL's most confident, creative, and fearless offense. Joe Burrow brought swagger to a franchise that had spent decades being overlooked. But with his body breaking down and the locker room on edge, that swagger's gone. The team doesn't just need someone to fill the position, they need someone who can reignite belief. And that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders does. He's not afraid of the spotlight, he lives in it. He's comfortable with pressure, understands the media game, and brings a kind of presence that changes how a team feels about itself. Cincinnati thrives on energy, momentum, and confidence, the same qualities Shedeur has carried since his first college start. From a football standpoint, the fit runs even deeper. Shedeur's playstyle, quick reads, fast decision-making, precision under chaos, mirrors the kind of offense Zach Taylor has always wanted to run. The Bengals have built their roster around explosive receivers, short window timing, and improvisation. They don't need a system quarterback. They need someone who can create when things fall apart. That's Shedeur's game: calm under pressure, deadly accurate, and unshaken by noise. You can see shades of Burrow's coolness, but with more fire, a chip on his shoulder that gives the team edge. And here's the part that really scares other teams. Shedeur wouldn't just fit the Bengals system, he'd elevate it. Imagine that young core of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and a quarterback who's not afraid to take deep shots, talk his talk, and back it up. That's not a rebuild, that's a reload. Beyond the field, there's another angle: the brand factor. Cincinnati's never been a marketable team. Even during playoff runs, they struggle to command national buzz. But plug in Shedeur Sanders. Suddenly, every camera pointed their way. Merchandise spikes, media coverage explodes, and a new era begins, one that feels alive, defiant, and impossible to ignore.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
It's not just about football. It's about what Shedeur represents. A new generation of players who don't wait for permission to lead, who understand both the game and the business, who carry themselves like CEOs, not rookies. That's exactly what the Bengals need right now. A spark that shakes the foundation, not a replacement that fades into Burrow's shadow. Because if Cincinnati's going down, they might as well go down swinging. And with Shedeur Sanders under center, every snap becomes must-watch football. When rumors about Shedeur Sanders' potential trade started to spread, most people brushed it off as fan fiction. But inside league circles, the whispers didn't fade, they multiplied. The problem wasn't whether the Bengals wanted him. The problem was that certain people in the league office didn't. And that's where the story takes a darker turn. Because according to multiple reports and a few very cautious insiders, there's quiet resistance forming behind the scenes. Some say it's about protecting parity. Others claim it's about maintaining professionalism. But call it what you want, it looks a lot like collusion. Not the kind that makes headlines or leads to investigations. This is the subtle kind, the kind that happens over dinners, phone calls, and text chains between executives who all understand the unspoken rule. Some players are better off in certain markets, and others, maybe, aren't ready for the spotlight yet. And Shedeur Sanders, he's the spotlight personified. There's a belief, whispered but persistent, that the league doesn't want another media magnet quarterback outside of the major market teams. That if Shedeur were to land in a place like Cincinnati, he could reshape the entire narrative. The small market underdog becomes the league's loudest headline. That's not on brand for how the NFL likes its stories told. Add in the day-in factor, the presence of one of the most outspoken figures in sports, and suddenly, this isn't just about a trade. It's about control. Control of image. Control of influence. Control of who gets to lead the next generation of stars. Behind the scenes, teams have allegedly been advised to proceed cautiously with any discussions involving Shedeur, not because of his skill, but because of the media complications he brings. That phrase, media complications, has become code. Code for we can't control the story if he wins. And it's not the first time the NFL been accused of quietly steering its narratives. From blackballed players to sudden PR crackdowns, the pattern is familiar. When someone becomes bigger than the system pushes back. But this time feels different. Because Shedeur isn't fighting from the outside. He's already in the league, and he's got the eyes of an entire generation watching every move. So the question isn't just whether teams want him. It's whether they're allowed to. And if that's true, if the league really is trying to slow him down, then this isn't just about a quarterback anymore. It's about power, legacy, and a young player who might be bold enough to challenge them both. Let's imagine, just for a moment, that the unthinkable actually happens. The Bengals make the call. The Browns pick up the phone. And somehow, against all logic and politics, Shedeur Sanders ends up in Cincinnati. The NFL wouldn't just tremble, it would erupt. Because overnight, the entire AFC North would flip upside down. Cleveland's prized rookie, gone. Cincinnati's fallen dynasty, reborn. And in the middle of it all, a 21-year-old quarterback with the confidence of a veteran and the media power of a superstar. Now picture the reaction. The league office goes into overdrive, sports talk shows explode, old-school analysts accuse the Bengals of gambling their future. But fans, they'd be glued to every second. The ticket lines, the jersey sales, the headlines, it'd all go nuclear. And on the field, that's where the fantasy becomes fascinating. Because the Bengals' offense was built for someone like Shedeur, the quick tempo, the vertical threats, the chance to throw deep to Jamar Chase on national TV while the crowd chants his name, it fits too perfectly. Every Sunday would feel like a statement. Every touchdown, a headline. Every mistake a storm. But here's the twist. This wouldn't just change Cincinnati. It would expose everything the league tries to hide. It would show that power doesn't always sit in boardrooms or press releases. Sometimes, it's in the hands of the players bold enough to take their shot. Imagine Shedeur thriving in Cincinnati, while the Browns scramble to justify the trade. Imagine Burrow's fans divided, unsure whether to be bitter or amazed. Imagine Shedeur Sanders, front row, sunglasses on, watching his son silence every critic who said he wasn't ready. That's not just football, that's theater. That's emotion, legacy, and rebellion colliding in real time. And that's exactly what the league fears. Because a moment like that, a moment where a young, outspoken player changes everything, can't be contained. It sets a precedent. It tells every rookie, every underdog, every backup waiting for a chance, you don't have to wait for permission to lead. So what if it happened? What if the Bengals dared to rewrite the rules, and Shedeur Sanders became the spark that reignited an entire franchise? It might sound far-fetched now, but every revolution starts as a rumor. And if the whispers are true, if this is really being discussed behind closed doors, then the question isn't if Shedeur Sanders will rise. It's where it'll happen first. To understand why Shedeur Sanders has become such a lightning rod in the NFL, you have to go back to where it all started. Not the stadiums, not the lights, but the expectations. From the moment he picked up a football, Shedeur wasn't just another athlete, he was Shedeur Sanders' son. That name came with weight, with pressure, with eyes watching every move, waiting to see if he'd crumble under it or carve his own path. And somehow, he did the impossible. He carved. At Jackson State, Shedeur turned skepticism into shock. Critics said he was only there because of his dad. Then he lit up defenses, week after week, with pinpoint accuracy and unshakable poise. He wasn't flashy for the sake of it, he was surgical. Calm when chaos surrounded him. His decision-making was so crisp that even NFL scouts who came to observe out of courtesy left taking notes. Then came Colorado, the media storm, the spotlight, the chaos. And again, Shedeur didn't fold. He thrived. He threw for thousands of yards behind one of the worst offensive lines in college football, standing tall while defenders collapsed around him. Every hit, every sack, every moment where he should have broken, he got back up. And that's when people realized this wasn't hype. This was heritage meeting hunger. Shedeur's skill set isn't just about arm strength. It's about composure. He's one of the few young quarterbacks who doesn't rush, doesn't panic. He processes the game like a veteran, methodical, deliberate, always scanning for leverage. His footwork, clean, his reads, fast, his accuracy, deadly, especially on timing routes. He doesn't need chaos to shine. He controls it. But what truly separates Shedeur is what you can't measure: mentality. The quiet confidence, the calculated defiance, the way he stares down critics with performance, not words. And that's what makes him dangerous, not to defenses, but to the establishment. Because Shedeur's story isn't about privilege, it's about pressure. He's had to prove, over and over, that his last name isn't his ticket, it's his challenge. And every throw, every snap, every rumor about where he might end up is another test of whether he can rise above it. So when people say Shedeur Sanders is different, they're right. He's not just another quarterback chasing a dream. He's the one rewriting what that dream looks like, in his own way, on his own terms. And that's what scares people the most. Because if this kid, this unshakable, media-savvy, laser-focused quarterback, finds the right team and the right moment, he won't just play in the NFL. He'll redefine it. Let's strip away the noise and talk reality. This situation isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. It's about power, about what's at stake for two franchises sitting on opposite sides of a quarterback crisis that could reshape the entire AFC North. For the Cincinnati Bengals, the math is simple: win now or fade away. Joe Burrow's injury didn't just sideline a player, it sidelined the identity of the team. Everything they've built, the chemistry with Jamar Chase, the offensive rhythm, the playoff runs, it all orbits around number 9. And now, with him gone for at least 3 months, the Bengals are staring into the abyss. Jake Browning, he's a decent professional, smart, composed, a guy who knows the system. But this isn't about managing games. This is about survival in a division stacked with elite defenses and hungry rivals. The Bengals didn't build this roster to tread water. They built it to attack. And every week Burrow is out, that identity dies a little more. So when Shedeur Sanders' name entered the conversation, it wasn't just speculation, it was hope. Hope that there's still a spark left in this season. Hope that maybe, just maybe, lightning can strike twice in Cincinnati, the same way it did when a young Joe Burrow turned a struggling franchise into a Super Bowl contender. Because make no mistake, if the Bengals make this move and it works, it's franchise-altering. It's a save-the-season kind of gamble. But if they do, then they're waving the white flag before Halloween. Now flip the script. For the Cleveland Browns, this isn't about desperation. It's about control. They've got a volatile quarterback situation of their own. Deshaun Watson is the starter, but his consistency has been questionable, his health unpredictable, and his contract immovable. And behind him, Shedeur Sanders, young, untested, but brimming with potential. Trading him now could backfire in spectacular fashion. If he goes to Cincinnati and thrives, the Browns become the team that handed a division rival its next superstar. Imagine the headlines. Imagine the outrage. But there's another side to it. If they hold on to him, they risk locker room tension and stunting his growth. You can't keep a quarterback like Shedeur hidden forever. Not when the world is calling for him. Not when the opportunity is this glaring. So both teams are caught in a chess match with no safe move. Cincinnati risks their season if they don't act. Cleveland risks their future if they do. That's what makes this story so electric. It's not just about who gets Shedeur Sanders. It's about what each team stands to lose if they guess wrong. And in the NFL, one wrong move doesn't just cost you games, it costs you eras. So here we are, the calm before what could be the biggest quarterback shakeup the NFL's seen in years. 2 teams, 1 crisis, 1 opportunity. And one name echoing through every front office meeting, every fan forum, and every late-night sports debate: Shedeur Sanders. If the Cincinnati Bengals pull this off, it's not just a trade, it's a statement. It says they're not afraid to take risks, that they refuse to waste a championship window waiting on luck or time, that they're willing to do whatever it takes to keep their season alive. Imagine it, Shedeur Sanders in Bengal stripes, walking into Packer Stadium with the pressure of an entire city on his shoulders. The cameras flashing. The crowd divided. Half hopeful, half doubtful, but all watching. Because deep down, everyone knows the story would be different. This wouldn't be some rookie stepping into a backup role. This would be legacy walking into a proving ground, day and sun, carrying not just a last name, but an expectation to rewrite it. But let's not ignore the flip side. What happens if the Browns don't let him go? What happens if Cleveland digs in, refusing to move him, keeping Shedeur tucked behind Deshaun Watson on the bench? Then we'll know. We'll know this isn't about development. It's about control. It's about keeping a disruptor quiet. Because if Shedeur shines elsewhere, he changes narratives, not just about himself, but about the NFL system that decides who gets chances and who doesn't. That's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. If Shedeur Sanders succeeds, a lot of powerful people will have to answer uncomfortable questions. About favoritism, about opportunity, about how the league handles players who don't fit neatly into its image. And maybe that's why this whole story feels like more than football. It's not just about a trade or an injury. It's about a shift in perception in politics, in who gets to define ready. The Bengals have the chance to spark that change. The Browns have the chance to block it. And the rest of us, we're just waiting to see who blinks first. So as we wrap this up, remember this: the clock is ticking. Every day Burrow stays sidelined. Every game the Bengals struggle. Every whisper that leaks from inside league circles. It all adds pressure. Something going to break. And when it does, it's not just a quarterback story anymore. It's a league story. Because whether you love him or hate him, believe in him or doubt him, one truth remains. Shedeur Sanders isn't waiting for permission anymore. He's waiting for his moment. And when that moment comes, the entire NFL will feel it.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.